In the mid-90s, Jackie Chan was at the height of his fame. With films such as Rumble in the Bronx leading to his breakthrough in the American market, audiences worldwide couldn't get enough of the Hong Kong action star. However, during the midst of all this, Japanese video game company Kaneko invested in one of Jackie's movies, in exchange for the star featuring one of their games using digitized sprites, much like those in Mortal Kombat. This game, however, unlike his movies, never saw a Western release. Today we explore how this all happened, and possibly why so many people outside of Asia, and even those inside Chan's native Hong Kong, haven't heard of this arcade adventure.
My name's Mike Leeder. Some people might say I'm a Hong Kong cinema expert. I just think I'm a mad fanboy who drank too much coffee one day and ended up in Hong Kong. This is a video game with Jackie Chan that came out just as Jackie Chan was breaking out internationally, and it never really got an official international release. Yeah, it was released in Asia. It turned up as a kind of grey area version in the West in a few places, but Jackie Chan was very much a family-friendly PG-13 kind of character in most of his movies in Asia. So for this video game to come along and be so off the ante of Jackie's normality, I mean, you know, not only are people kicking the shit out of each other, Jackie's smacking women around, you know, characters get to do fatalities. Okay, Jackie can't do fatalities and you can't do gruesome fatalities on him, but everyone else can rip each other apart. I think there's even a more gruesome and bloody second wave version, you know.
After some time in the arcades, Jackie Chan's Kung Fu Master was re-released as Jackie Chan's Fist of Fire. This new version involved a darker reimagining of the characters, graphical tweaks, rebalanced fighters, added mechanics, slight enhancements to the gore, and made the 3 iterations of Jackie Chan available from the start. This darker version, however, strayed even further from Jackie Chan's cultivated image.
People know the Jackie Chan Stuntmaster game, and there's a video game Kung Fu Master that's also known as a Spartan X in Japan. That's, you know, kind of based on Wheels on Meals. But this was the first official with likeness Jackie Chan video game. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. So the Jackie Chan Kung Fu Master video game, it had kind of like a domino effect on a certain Jackie Chan movie called Thunderbolt. Now, the Japanese producers were so impressed by Thorsten in the video game that they insisted he be cast as the main villain in the movie Thunderbolt.
Well, I'm Thorsten. If my memory is correct, then Jackie came to watch a bit on the set of The Enforcer with Jet Li, or My Father's a Hero, it was called as well. And he came over there to visit a few times. I was working there as well, had a small part. And I think the set was at the time set up not far from Jackie's office. Before the game, we only kept bumping into each other, and the game was actually the first job I did with Jackie. There's nothing much to say how I got it. There's just, you know, one of those things, you get a pager call. Back then we had pages. And there was no mobile phones. I would imagine I just got a call from the agency, whoever that was, and to ask me if I wanted to shoot this. Now, there was supposed to be just for a local game in Japan, they said, but I didn't know anything else about it. Sometimes, you know, also nowadays when you have auditions and things like that, you don't even know what you're reading for. Some are very secretive. I just knew it was going to be for a game. I can do some kicks and punches and that's it. And I didn't know anything about it. I also read that they said that we shot it in Japan, but the scenes for the video game were actually shot in Hong Kong. And then, you know, parts of the movie were shot in Japan, and also press conference and things like this we did in Japan as well.
Also, the funny thing is the video game was officially directed by Frankie Chan, Jackie Chan's long-term partner in crime. Frankie also supervised the car stunt scenes for Thunderbolt. But we also get to see several of the stunt performers from the video game, including Sam Wong, Wong Ming Sing, Mun Ching, all turning up in their day job as part of Jackie Chan's stunt team in the movie Thunderbolt. So it kind of had that ripple effect. They shot the video game, did all that, then did the press conference in Japan, had the domino effect where it opened the door for Thorsten to make the movie. Now, the video game was produced by Kanenko, and they did some very, shall we say, not so subtle product placement. You can see the company logo in a few places, which is kind of funny because Jackie had a long-running deal with Mitsubishi where that would happen. So, yeah, product placement in Hong Kong movies is always, shall we say, less than subtle.
Thunderbolt, the whole shoot was fantastic. I mean, everything was going well. With the video game, was a little bit different stories, but in regards to that, we were in Sendai up north in Japan. We're shooting Thunderbolt there, and then I got a fax in the hotel room to see, do you want to come down with Jackie for the press conference in Tokyo? So yeah, of course. So Jackie and me and his crew, we went on the bullet train from Sendai to Tokyo, and to do a press conference for the release of the video game, for the worldwide release of the video game. In Jackie's suite, we kind of rehearsed a couple of fight scenes, his manager, and then Ken Lowe, everybody was there having a good time, and it was just really fun. We rehearsed some fight scenes in the hotel at night, a little bit after a few drinks, and then the next day we did it at a press conference. I remember this. I mean, if you have this, I would love to see it again.
My name is Thorsten Nickel. I'm from Germany. I've studied martial arts.
But it was, it was great. It was the release. We did a little performance, I think, and that was done in Tokyo. That's right.
I think Jackie probably thought he was getting more of a Street Fighter game where, you can knock out your opponent. But I think the makers were pushing for a more Mortal Kombat gruesome level, so that's why there's fatalities, and I think it's probably why Jackie at the last minute went, whoa, my character can't be dismembered, and my character can't carry out the gruesome murders. I have an image to protect.
You're getting better. Oh yeah!
And the idea of digitizing Jackie Chan was a really cool idea at the time. Even if some of the digitization is a little bit out there, like certain moves, you can tell people are sitting on a shopping trolley being pushed across.
I've never been involved in the game before or after, actually, and but it's not what you think, because what you see in the end is just so different than when you shoot it, because you don't have the side effects, obviously, and the stars and all these kind of animations. So when you shoot, you just it was done with Frankie Chan. We were shooting. I think it was actually in Golden Harvest, in somewhere there in one of the rooms. It was in front of a green screen, and then what you have to do, literally, you go through every move possible, any attack possible, any block possible, any jump kick or whatever, any kind of move. Now I come from a traditional karate background, so that's what I was focusing on, and they ask you just to do everything possible, right? And then you just wonder when you leave there, you think, so how is that going to work in a video game, And I remember I couldn't wait, because I've never played video games. I'm not really a geek with this, but I was really looking forward to see how it all comes together, and what happens when I win, in the fight there, in the video game. What happens? How does it work out? It's just brilliant what they've done. Yeah, I was still in Japan, and obviously, in the Far East, I had long hair at the time. People know kind of who you are, maybe, right? So I went into Tokyo, or in Sendai or Tokyo, somewhere. I went into a game arcade, and because I don't know how to play games and I don't want to look like a fool, so I went. I see what happens. I want to see if I play Thorsten versus Thorsten to make sure I win. The idea was to see what happens when I win, what happens when I lose. So and there was somebody playing the game before me, and I was just standing in the background saying, "Come on, man, I want to play the game." And so after the person finished the game, it was my turn, and then I chose me versus me, and obviously I won. And I thought, I was just impressed at the time with all the side effects, what they have done. So if you get hit, then you have all the stars or whatever, or flashes. And it was just a great experience to do that. And then eventually the chords were triggering through. Hey man, what happens to you, man? This woman just beat you. I said, what are you talking about? Some guy calls me from South Africa or from America. People kept calling that they played the video game in a game arcade, and that was quite amazing.
I've always been surprised it never got a wider exposure, and I think it's quite funny now that, 25 years later, there's still people discovering this video game for the first time. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a game that still holds up.
I just called for the job, and you have no idea how it's going to go out, how it's going to look like, but I'm surprised I can recognize myself. So that was quite incredible. It's good fun, to have been part of something like this. It's something different, right?
It may be interesting to note that 25 years after being released, audiences have finally discovered the game that would ultimately bankrupt its creator, Kaneko. Had the game been allowed to ride the success of its star, things may indeed have gone differently. What does remain clear though, is that Jackie Chan's Kung Fu Master and Fists of Fire are an interesting and somewhat mysterious curiosity in both celebrity endorsements and arcade history.